So as many of you probably know, the PlayStation 5 is about to come out, okay? We're about to see the next generation of video game consoles hit the market. The PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, I think, X. It's a pretty hyped up moment in gaming history every time that a new console launches, especially a PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo console. This is going to usher in a new era of video games with all kinds of different upgrades over the previous generation. People are excited, they're already selling out pre-orders. It's going to be a huge year for video games, obviously, simply because of this, and of course going into the next few years, with these consoles kind of becoming the standard in video games for consoles especially. And so we're finally starting to get some reviews of these machines, considering the fact that we are finally within just days of them actually launching. And unfortunately, I came across one of the reviews that has basically explained to me how and why we can't enjoy the PlayStation 5. Now, consider the fact that I've already pre-ordered one. I was barely able to secure the bag. If you were trying to pre-order a PlayStation 5 when this whole thing was going on, when they first released the pre-orders for them, you'll know that it was basically impossible. Scalpers were using bots to collect 30,000 of them, something crazy, I don't know. But so many people were trying to pre-order these things at once that it was essentially impossible. I barely got lucky enough to get one, and it should be here on launch day. If you want me to do an unboxing for it, make sure to leave a like. I have been considering that idea as well, so I'm already pretty excited for the PS5. I'm definitely excited for some of the titles coming up on it. I really want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, I've been looking forward to that since they even really announced that it was coming out. Like, that is the one that I have to play the moment that I get my PS5. But we're going to take a look at a review here which explains, just why, even though the PS5 is a really good console, you probably will have trouble enjoying it. So honestly, I'm going to save you guys a lot of time here because this is quite a long review. It's apparently over 3,000 words talking about the PlayStation 5, and just to keep it $150, man, to go through this entire thing, it would take like 45 minutes if I'm also going to add on everything else that we're going to be going through here. So I want to point out that it weighs a smidge under 10 pounds. It's over 15 inches tall. If you want to go ahead and get the standard version, it is $500 USD, $400 US dollars for the digital-only version. It'll be coming out globally on November 19th. However, in the United States, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea, it will be hitting November 12th, just this week. It's being referred to as a quote-unquote beefy boy in this article. If that was enough, I guess, to describe it for you. But I want to take a look at a very specific paragraph to open this entire thing up, and it's going to kind of forecast the rest of this for us, I think, here. I'm sitting at my desk, staring at the PlayStation 5 looming over my media stand. My entertainment center is a little too grandiose for the small piece of Target furniture that holds all my gaming stuff, and wondering just how the hell I'm gonna review this thing. How would my boss, whose various PlayStation 4 reviews I've skimmed several times so as to glean some insight to what I should cover, review this thing? How can anyone, at this very moment in time, review this thing? Well, I think I got an answer to that question, and that would be to just simply review the fucking console, the games that you played, the controller, the features. Give me an overall idea of what I'm getting here out of the box, okay? It doesn't really have to be that hard. I think it's an extremely simple, straightforward thing to do. Am I getting good value out of this console, or am I not? Are the games that launch with it good, or are they not? Is the features that were promised, are they impressive, or are they not? Should someone purchase this if they can? It's a very simple thing. I've done plenty of reviews for video games and whatnot in the past. I can tell you it really is not that hard to review something. Now, with that being said, that last sentence, how can anyone at this very moment in time review this thing, foreshadows the rest of this, because while this review does cover the PlayStation 5 console in what I would describe as pretty decent review quality here, it immediately is going to take a turn south because, you can't play video games or talk about entertainment at this point without getting political. That's the world that we live in now. They covered pretty much anything, I guess, that you'd want to know. Is the SSD any good? The haptic controls on the DualSense controller? Some of the games they played, loading times, things like that, right? We got a pretty good coverage of that, I would say. But at the end of the article here, it takes a very, very quick turn, okay, away from video games, and for some reason now, we went from talking about a PlayStation 5 to now talking about the current political landscape, the issues plaguing the world today, the pandemic. I'm not sure why, but this is the road we're taking. And let's go ahead and hop on the ride, folks. This review has spent 3,000 words talking about the PlayStation 5, which is the most I've ever written about anything. It's as good a video game console as there's ever been. The combination of ultra-high definition video, increased frame rates, high-end graphics techniques like ray tracing, and the lightning-fast SSD make it feel like a real-deal next-gen successor to the PlayStation 4, and if you're not ready to give up on the previous console, the PS5 reliably runs a vast majority of the PS4 library, with many of those games receiving upgrades to fidelity, frame rate, and loading times. But I'd be remiss to ignore all the reasons not to be excited for the PlayStation 5. The world is still reeling under the weight of the COVID-19 pandemic. There are more Americans out of work right now than at any point in the country's history, with no relief in sight. Our healthcare system is an inherently evil institution that forces people to ration life-saving medications like insulin and choose suicide over suffering with untreated mental illness. As I'm writing this, it looks very likely that Joe Biden will be our next president, but it's clear that the worst people aren't going away just because a new old white man is sitting behind the Resolute desk. Well, at least not this old white man. Ooh, who's he talking about there? Couldn't tell. Our government is fundamentally broken in a way that necessitates radical change rather than incremental electoralism. The harsh truth is that for the reasons listed above and more, a lot of people simply won't be able to buy a PlayStation 5, regardless of supply. Or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the United States and the growing threat of widespread political violence supersede any enthusiasm about the console's SSD or how ray tracing makes reflections look more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things. I certainly am on some level, but there's an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. Okay, let's go ahead and unpack a little bit of that. So I'm not really sure what this old white man has to do with anything. I don't understand what the presidential election, what the pandemic, any of it really has to do with you reviewing a fucking PlayStation 5 console, but that wasn't the approach you should have taken here. I think I understand what was attempted here. I think, they were trying to be, a little bit more aware of the world around them. They wanted to provide the clarity that, hey, there's a lot of other shit going on too. Focus on that as well as your PlayStation 5, but in all reality, that's not how this comes off. This really just comes off as divisive and ridiculous, if anything. First and foremost, this is not the first time in fucking history that people have, never been able to buy an electronic, okay? I already was well aware that there's people out there that can't afford a $500 gaming console right now, and I understand that I'm quite privileged to be in a position to do so, but I mean, in all fucking reality, man, the privilege of living in a highly developed country, even in the situation that we're in, is a big step up, a big privilege over living in some of the places that exist on this planet. I would rather live in a global pandemic, broke with no job, facing political violence from people on the left and right here in the United States, and know that there's at least some fucking semblance of a structure here, than to live in North Korea, where electricity is scarce and food is fucking scarce, and the government will arrest you and put your whole family in prison for disrespecting an image of the supreme leader. So in all reality, it has nothing to do with the PlayStation 5. Sure, shit is rough outside, but don't you think maybe that's why people are fucking focused on the PlayStation 5 release? I know some people don't understand this or they don't care, but video games are an escape, okay? It's not to say that people aren't focused on the real world, because at the end of the day, we all still gotta fucking wake up tomorrow and realize, oh yeah, there's a global pandemic going on, we're just literally printing money off in the Federal Reserve to try and combat the pandemic and the economic effects. It's gonna weaken the dollar a little bit, if not by a fucking radical amount. Half my family still doesn't have their job back, they're barely subsisting on the basics at this point, so it's not like people don't fucking get that. But guess what? Some people don't want to think about that 24/7. Some people just want to get a fucking PS5 and chill out for a little bit, man. It really isn't something that needed to be brought up, okay? I get that this is the world that we live in. I don't need to hear it from a Kotaku article, okay? People just want to read, is the PlayStation 5 the machine for me to waste my time on and to not fucking think about the world outside of me for about 30 to 45 minutes a day? Yeah, you do get a lot of privilege in that situation, right? To be able to do that, to be able to afford a $500 gaming console. But that doesn't mean that it has to be shoved down your throat at every fucking turn. I hate to tell you this, but there's nothing that I can do personally for the people who are out of work right now. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna go to their fucking employer and be like, hey, pick this guy back up and give him his job back? Like, what am I gonna do, man? The world around me, sure, it's collapsing, there's stuff going on outside, but what am I gonna do? Am I gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, hey, I have the cure for COVID, folks? Am I going to be the one to step up and make racial issues and stuff completely disappear from the planet, like me as just some fucking white 20-year-old is just going to step up and just end racism? You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. I hate to tell you that. I really wish that I had that ability. I really wish that I could just come up with the fucking cure for every disease and make people join hands in the streets and actually be one. I wish I could do that, but guess what? I can't. So why do people who can't do anything about these issues, why do they need to be told, hey, you should be aware of these issues? You shouldn't be aware of just your PlayStation 5 coming up, even though that's your escape. That's what helps keep you kind of grounded. And I love this part here too, because this is one of the things that I found ridiculous. You know, yeah, the healthcare system here is inherently evil. There's a lot of fucking predatory behavior with Big Pharma. I've been very vocal about that in the past. But don't you think those people with untreated mental illnesses, don't you think maybe that something like a PlayStation 5 could be good for them? Because I tell you what, man, when I'm fucking depressed, when I'm down, when I'm legitimately like on the edge, dude, the best thing I can do is just sit back and fucking play some games for a little bit, man, and talk to my friends on Discord or whatever, right? That's the shit that helps me personally. And I know it helps a lot of other people too. So like what the whole point of this was to like drag the real world into this for what I would say, I understand the intent. The intentions were good there, but it was completely unnecessary, and all it does is make people who wanted to read an article about the PlayStation 5 feel guilty for something that they really have no control over. And this has become like a common problem, I think, in the gaming industry, where I understand that video games inherently as art can be political and can have a message and a purpose. I'm completely okay with that, and I accept that, right? You know, if that's what the developers want to do, that's cool. But when reviewers and people who actually don't even play video games tell me how I'm supposed to feel about video games and how I'm supposed to compare them to other things going on in my life, that's where it gets pretty fucking annoying. Because at the end of the day, I don't need to be told about the shit going on outside. If you don't notice by my video catalog, I'm very aware of everything going on, and I talk about it quite often. And at the end of the day, all people want to do is play some video games, okay? I mean, shit, we're supposed to be going into lockdowns and whatnot anyway, so what the fuck are people supposed to do? But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, getting a PS5 and realizing that the world is fucked, and signing out.